Hi, I'm Life Coach Landry, and the topic is myths about men that can kill your relationship. Men don't talk as freely and easily as women do because they've been trained not to, and has nothing to do with love. And guess what? Men are okay with it. It's women that aren't typically. So, I heard from, a client of mine that said, I just don't understand men. Every time I try to talk to him or about something that's the least bit emotional, I get the impression he wants to point the remote control at me and push the mute button. Probably some truth to that. So, in other words, he tunes you out a lot. So, although this kind of conversation may help women vent frustration talking to people about it, it does little to bridge the communication gap between the sexes. What women don't realize is that men do have feelings, even if they don't always communicate them directly. And we're not talking about that you need to resolve something or you need to, you're dating, you want to know if you're going to be an official couple and have a commitment. We're talking about you're living together and, you had an emotion about something and it didn't go the way you wanted it to. So such myths about men are prime culprits for the erosion in trust and understanding in a relationship. Okay. So you got to remember that communication pattern and what's going on there. Why all the confusion? Is it oversimplification? But sometimes men and women speak different languages and neither is fluent in both. Many women communicate by talking and many men by doing. Okay. Men like, actions and women like words. A man talks to solve a problem. If he doesn't have a solution already in mind, he'll remain quiet, figuring out that the problem internally before speaking. In contrast, women speak to vent feelings to elicit support and validation and build rapport. And somewhere along the way, it seems the idea of just things were lost amongst men and women somewhere, because now the prevailing norm appears to be that, at least in the area of love, that a woman's way of communicating is the most revered and the most accepted as a standard of mental health. It's wrong. And it's slowly changing. Psychology is slowly starting to catch up with neither the way women or men do things is wrong, but the perception and that one or the other is better is wrong. Men don't need to start talking more, and women don't need to start becoming more focused and being quiet. Indeed, many popular books, women's magazines, and seminars, admonish men for, that they better shape up and learn to communicate more like women, talk more, listen. Well, guess what? Maybe you should be with a woman if that's the way you feel. Because when men communicate their feelings of love for the family by supporting them financially or fixing a leaky faucet or by clearing ice out of the driveway, it's not enough. In fact, it's often not even noticed by a woman as a communication at all. So if you're a man and you're listening to this, my advice would be to you to be, are you with somebody who's compatible with you? Because compatible women will appreciate everything that you do. If you're a woman and you're listening to this and those are just expectations, well, then guess what? He expects you to cook, clean, be affectionate, and be sexual at all times. Okay? So if you can't accept that, why would he ever accept the alternative from you? So neither men nor women's way of communicating is inherently, superior. There's a time to talk and a time to act. Okay? Either way, it's carried to extremes, but has limitations. So couples in my studies and my opinion must accomplish three main tasks to bridge communication so that you can just have a better health to your communication. Number one, each partner must acknowledge that both ways of communicating are valid, that communicating by talking and communicating by doing are both acceptable forms of communicating. Number two, then they must learn to speak each other's language. Oftentimes in therapy, there's more of a focus on teaching men expressive and emotional skills, but I think it's just as important to teach women to be fluent in the language of action. Okay? And this is slowly changing. Therapy has taken a long time to catch up, just like the courtrooms have, like during divorces and whatnot, to look at a man's, just because a man's strong and doesn't talk and doesn't communicate doesn't mean he doesn't feel. It took a while for this stuff to catch up, but it's getting there. And therapy is certainly coming around. And, I'm here to set the record straight that there's no way that men are doing anything wrong. There's no way that women. It's simply about compatibility. And like I said, when you find somebody who works with you, love is effortless. Finally, number three, it can be enormously helpful if your partners don't take it personally when the other is not speaking their preferred language, okay? Many times I hear women in particular assigning a negative motivation to the partner's behavior. If he has really loved me, he talked to me more like this. That's simply not true. Get the fuck over it. Like, stop living in romantic novels. Men don't talk as freely and as easily as women do because they've been trained and wired that they don't have to. And then they're also making the choice that they don't want to. And has nothing to do with love. So don't take it personally. Okay? So, this should help you about, a couple of the myths, but the main myth that kills relationships with women, it turns you into a nagger because you're not paying attention to the way a man works. And I'm going to do a segment on something very similar about myths about women being always emotional and that they're always insecure when they are and whatnot, so that men can listen to that as well. Okay? So I hope this information made a lot of sense to you. And if it didn't, feel free to email me about something that will help you. So if you'd like to book a personal session, contact me at the email below. And if you found this information of value, show your appreciation by clicking the PayPal donation link below, and I will talk to you soon.